have traveled on foot through dozens of countries. They were about to reach the end, only to be stopped by an abyss of 10,000 feet, the bridge that once spanned the chasm. Now there are only ruins. In the face of overwhelming odds, there seemed to be no choice but to give up, but they clearly weren't going to do that. Seeing the bird flying over the abyss, the dark-haired man thought of something, began to walk step by step towards the edge of the broken bridge. The plank withstood his weight and did not break. The two men looked at each other and smiled, found a way to cross the abyss. They first collected materials from the neighborhood. The broken bridge left behind wooden planks put together. Then they fixed them one by one with ropes, fine stones to press on the end of the bridge, thus built a 6-meter-long pontoon. Even if you walk to the edge, can also hold them securely, although there are still hundreds of meters away from the other side. But it is finally a step closer. They were more convinced of this idea. A girl from a nearby village noticed the two. They went into the forest every day with their axes. Within a few days, the wood they collected was piled up into a mountain. The number of onlookers grew. They wondered how they could build a bridge across the abyss. To most people, this was crazy, but the two men were sure it could be done. They used a rope to pull up the hanging bridge, and then fixed it to a dead tree on the edge of the cliff. With this support point, the bridge continued to extend farther and farther. A few days later, the bridge finally reached the middle of the abyss on the peak of a small mountain. The two men tied the rope to a large stone, then pushed down hard. The bridge behind them rose up at the same time. The yellow-haired man fired a flare. When the villagers saw the splendid fireworks explode, they put down their farm work to celebrate for them. The bridge was halfway completed. At this rate, they would be able to cross the abyss successfully. Many more days passed after that. The wind was blowing hard in the sky. They tied a lot of canvas to the bridge, hoping to support the bridge with the wind. Looking at the dark clouds approaching in the sky, they began to feel anxious. The bridge was still far from the other side, and they couldn't jump over it. If it was blown down, then all their efforts would be in vain. That night the storm came. The villagers all took refuge in their houses. The girl was concerned about the safety of the two men and refused to go in. At this point, they already understood that the bridge would not last. Then let's go now. The yellow-haired man cut the rope with his axe. Instantly the canvas all opened, with the wind to pull up the bridge. This distance they can finally jump over. The two men put on their bags and ran ahead with all their might. Suddenly a thunderbolt struck down, broke the rope, and started a fire. The dead tree at the end of the bridge looked like it would not be able to support. The whole bridge also began to shake. The girl saw the situation, immediately rushed to pull the rope. At that moment, all the villagers behind her also rushed over. The strength of the crowd to pull the bridge up again. At this point, the two men were already approaching the edge of the bridge. The black-haired man leapt to the other side, but the yellow-haired man behind him slipped and fell at that moment. He struggled to get up to reach his companion's hand, but this distance simply cannot do. At this time, the bridge is still sinking, although the villagers have tried their best, but this only slightly slowed down the process. Yellow hair with the broken bridge little by little down. Struggle has no meaning. He was not destined to reach the other side. When his fate was already sealed, the yellow-haired man calmed down. He looked back at the bridge he had worked so hard to make and the villagers behind him. The road ahead will be yours alone, my friend. He let go of the rope and pulled out a signal gun. He fires a flare into the sky as a symbol of victory. At the same time, the bridge collapsed and the yellow-haired man fell into the abyss. When the villagers saw the bridge collapse, their hearts were heavy, thinking that the two men had failed. But then a flare burst into the air. The villagers celebrated with excitement because the two men had performed a miracle. Little did they know that this was the yellow-haired man's final reward. You have helped me, and I will never let you lose hope.